They told you it was love, but it was dependence. They said holding on meant caring, but you were clinging out of fear, fear of emptiness, fear of not being enough, fear of seeing yourself when no one else is watching. Carl Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed. But what if you're the only one transforming? What if you're only losing shape to fit into a mold that was never meant for you? This is not love. This is forgetting yourself. Let us begin not with detachment, but with the attachment that disguises itself so well. Love is not supposed to make you sick. It is not supposed to rob your sleep, trap your breath, or bind your worth to the vibration of a message tone. And yet, that is what so many call love. That tightness in your chest, that trembling in your hands, these are not signs of connection. These are symptoms of fear, symptoms of addiction, symptoms of forgetting your own soul. You say you love them, but if they vanish tomorrow, would you still know who you are? Or would you collapse not because of loss, but because the scaffolding of your identity was built around their presence? The truth is harsh, but necessary. Many of us were never taught how to love. We were taught how to depend. We were taught that being chosen equals being worthy. We were taught to mold ourselves, to please, to attach, to lose. What you've called butterflies were often alarms. What you named devotion was often desperation. When Carl Jung explored the human psyche, he knew that our projections can turn others into screens. You don't see the person. You see your longing, your wound, your hope. And when they reflect it back, you feel alive. But you are not alive. You are animated by illusion. Detachment begins with this realization that what you've been feeling is not love, but a need to not feel alone, a need to not face the mirror, a need to quiet the void within you by attaching to someone who seems louder, warmer, safer. But nothing you attach to will ever silence that void, because that void isn't seeking another, it is seeking you. Fear is clever. It will dress itself in poetry. It will masquerade as passion. It will convince you that the pain you feel is the price of deep connection. But pain is not proof of love. Pain is proof of misalignment. Healthy love may challenge you, but it will never diminish you. It may humble you, but it will never humiliate you. And yet, many of us cling to what hurts simply because it's familiar. We've built our emotional homes in houses made of fear and mistaken them for castles of love. To emotionally detach is to begin the painful but necessary process of burning down the house that is killing you, even if it has a beautiful view. And as you sift through the ashes, you begin to see what was real and what was illusion, what was built on fear and what was rooted in truth. The act of detaching, then, is not a rejection of love. It is a commitment to rebuild love on something more solid, on self-awareness, on sovereignty, on truth. Because the deepest love begins where illusion ends. When you stop asking another person to complete you, you begin the sacred work of completion within yourself. This is not loneliness. This is liberation. There was a moment, you may not remember when you stopped being yourself to be accepted. Maybe it started small. A hesitation, a silence, a smile when you wanted to cry, a nod when your instincts whispered no, and then it became routine. You learned to read their moods before your own. You learned to shrink your truth to fit their comfort. You became a version of yourself that was easier to digest. They never asked for this, but your fear did. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of yourself you hide in the dark. Not because they're evil, but because you believed they made you unlovable. So you buried your sadness, your rage, your longing for truth. You replaced them with agreeableness, with smiles that didn't reach your eyes, with peace at any price. And what did you get in return? A connection built not on authenticity, but performance. And worst of all, you lost the real you in the process. To emotionally detach is to look into the shadow with gentleness, to say, I see you, I have neglected you, but no more. It is to gather the fragmented parts of yourself you disowned in the name of love and welcome them home. You do not have to break to be loved. You do not have to shrink to belong. You simply have to remember who you are without the mask. And then you will know this: no love that asks you to abandon yourself is love worth keeping. Because the truth is, when you abandon parts of yourself to keep someone, you create a hollow echo of connection. They are not loving you, they are loving your costume. And deep inside, you know this. That's why you feel unseen, unheard, unheld, because you are absent from your own life. To return to yourself is not an act of rebellion, it is an act of recovery. To say, I miss who I was before I began bending. Start there. Begin to take up space again. Begin to speak even when your voice shakes. Begin to show the parts of you you've hidden. Not all at once, but slowly, bravely, with compassion. And remember, anyone who cannot hold space for the real you does not deserve to stand in the sanctuary of your becoming. Your identity is sacred. It is not a bargaining chip for approval. It is not a draft to be edited until it suits someone else's expectations. It is a masterpiece under construction, and it deserves to be seen, loved, and held in full. And as you reclaim those hidden parts, you will begin to feel whole again. Not perfect, not complete in the final sense, but integrated, aligned. You will look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back, not as a stranger, but as someone worthy of your own love. That is the gift of emotional detachment, not coldness but clarity, not separation but self-possession, not distance but depth. You come back to yourself not to stay alone, but to return to relationships with a truer self to offer. Dependency rarely announces itself with violence. It often comes disguised in soft words and intense stares, in deep longing and the illusion of romantic destiny. You call it chemistry. You call it connection. But beneath the surface, something darker breathes. Dependency is a quiet surrender of the self. It starts in subtle ways. You cancel your plans. You shrink your needs. You begin measuring your worth by how close they stand to you. And when they pull away, you don't just miss them. You feel like you're disappearing. It's not love, it's emotional addiction. The symptoms are clear once you begin to name them. Obsession with their approval, chronic anxiety when they don't respond, sleepless nights filled with hypothetical conversations, fear that without them, you are nothing. That's not romance. That's a loss of self-regulation. You confuse intensity for intimacy, but intimacy invites safety. Dependency breeds survival mode. You're not thriving, you're grasping. Jung warned about projecting our unlived lives onto others. When you haven't made peace with your inner world, you attach to someone who seems to complete it. But no one can complete what they didn't create, and no one should carry the weight of your unloved parts. Think of dependency like a drug. It makes you feel high when they're close and sick when they're not. You need constant hits, text messages, touch, reassurances. But the more you rely on it, the weaker your inner foundation becomes. You forget how to self-soothe. You forget how to self-define. And like any addiction, there is a withdrawal period. The thought of detachment terrifies you not because you're losing love, but because you're losing your coping mechanism. You fear the silence not because it's empty, but because it forces you to hear your own voice again. But there's power in withdrawal. There's truth in stillness. When you stop looking to someone else to calm your storms, you discover the shelter within. Detachment is not a rejection of love. It is a return to sovereignty. It's a choice to no longer be emotionally outsourced. It's a declaration. My peace is mine. My worth is mine. My identity is mine. You are not here to be saved. You are here to be seen, first by yourself. But recovery is not passive. It requires radical responsibility. You must choose yourself in the face of longing. You must soothe yourself in the presence of silence. You must feed the parts of you that starved while you waited for someone else to nourish them. Start small. Sit with your discomfort instead of texting them. Choose solitude over false security. Listen to your breath instead of the old stories that tell you you're not enough alone. Dependency teaches us that peace is external. Detachment rewires that belief. You begin to see that you are not broken, you are rewiring. You are not abandoned, you are returning. You are not unloved, you are loving yourself in a way you never have before. And when you arrive there, when you begin to stabilize in your own presence, you will look back and see they were never your home. They were a mirror showing you where you needed to return. You are not weak for having depended. You were doing what your nervous system knew. But you are powerful for choosing differently now. This is the beginning of freedom, not from love, but from fear disguised as love. This is not detachment as a wall. It is detachment as a window. Through it, you can finally see yourself clearly. You were taught to hold on. You were taught that letting go means failure, that detachment means coldness, that ending something that hurts you is disloyalty. But what if the bravest act of love is not staying, but releasing? Detachment is often misunderstood as indifference. It is not. Detachment is the refusal to let fear control the terms of your connection. It is the practice of choosing clarity over chaos and authenticity over attachment. To detach does not mean you stop loving. It means you stop needing love to be a certain shape. You stop forcing it to stay. You stop begging it to behave. You allow it to breathe, to be what it is, even if that means walking away. You say, I love you, not with chains, but with wings. You say, I choose you, but not at the cost of my soul. Carl Jung believed that love, in its highest form, was transformative, not because it consumes you, but because it liberates you. Real love doesn't trap you in a role. It expands you into your truth. If your love feels like a cage, it's not love. If your love requires self-erasure, it's not love. If your love only exists when you are performing, it's not love. Detachment is where you stop pretending. It is where you no longer chase, prove, or please. It is the moment you say, if this cannot exist in freedom, it should not exist at all. And from that place, ironically, beautifully, true love becomes possible. Because it is no longer born of fear, but of fullness. No longer a strategy for survival, but a sacred choice. The most powerful love stories are written in freedom. Detachment is the blank page where they begin. But here's the miracle. When you stop asking love to rescue you, you start to experience a deeper kind of connection, one that honors both you and the other. Detachment gives you space to breathe, to evaluate not just who you love, but how you love. Are you showing up with expectations or with presence? Are you withholding to maintain control? Or are you being vulnerable because you trust yourself? Letting go of attachment is letting go of distortion. It is letting go of the fantasy of completion and embracing the reality of evolution. Love is not a finish line. It is a living thing. It needs space, truth, autonomy, breath. And yes, you may lose people as you detach, not because you are cruel, but because they cannot meet you in freedom. They needed your need. They depended on your dependence. But your growth doesn't make you less loving. It makes your love more real. Jung taught us that all relationships are opportunities for self-discovery. When you stop clinging, you start discovering what you actually want, not what you've been trained to settle for. You stop seeking intensity and start seeking intimacy. True love is never found in desperation. It is found in peace, in presence, in people who can meet you where you already are, because they are already standing there themselves. Detach not to escape love, but to become it. All your life you waited for the one who would understand you, see you, stay. You built hopes on people. You placed your healing in their hands. You made them the sun, and you revolved like a planet around their warmth. And when they left, or disappointed you, or simply stayed but could not carry your soul, your world shattered. But what if the love you were chasing was never theirs to give? What if you have been searching for yourself in someone else's eyes? You were not looking for a person. You were looking for a mirror, one that told you you are lovable, you are enough, you are home. But here's the truth. No mirror reflects light unless it shines from within. Emotional detachment is not isolation. It is illumination. It is the moment you stop outsourcing your reflection and begin to see yourself clearly. It's when you turn inward and whisper, "I am the one I've been waiting for." Jung called this process individuation. It is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming fully yourself, integrating your shadow, reclaiming your voice, loving your contradictions, and then, from that wholeness, choosing connection, not clinging. When you detach emotionally, you are not rejecting love. You are preparing to meet it honestly, no longer as a beggar, but as an equal. Because you have touched your own depths. You have sat in your pain without flinching. You have heard your silence and not run. And now you are no longer afraid of solitude. You are no longer incomplete. And from that place you love, not to be completed, but to be shared, not to be saved, but to grow. Not because you must, but because you can. You were the one you were waiting for. And now that you have arrived, your love no longer comes with conditions. It comes with wings. It comes with light. It comes with truth. But this love, for yourself, must be practiced. It is not a one-time realization. It is a daily devotion. You affirm yourself in the mirror. You feed your body with care. You speak to your mind with kindness. You tend to your emotions like sacred soil. You begin to reparent the part of you that was taught you had to earn love. You sit with the wounded child inside you and say, "You never had to be perfect. You never had to prove your worth. You were already enough." And yes, it will feel lonely at times. It will feel like silence where there was once noise, but within that silence you'll hear something else. Your own voice, coming home. You realize that you are no longer chasing. You are no longer convincing. You are no longer waiting to be picked. You have chosen yourself. And what a powerful choice that is. Because from that place, the relationships you attract are different. They are not based on need, but resonance. Not filling, but reflection. Not escaping, but expanding. You were the one you were waiting for. And now that you're here, nothing is missing. You are the center you searched the world to find. You are the love you tried so hard to earn. You are the belonging you once thought only they could give you. You've arrived, and you're not going anywhere.